On today's episode of Anime Afterthought, a certain scientific Railgun Season 3 Episode 22, Scavenger. Hypothesis: an artificial soul without a body can interact and fuse with inanimate objects. Test scenario: introduce Ryoku's doppelganger to Academy City the hard way, including interacting with the underground faction known as Scavenger, as well as the third-ranked level 5 Esper Railgun. Conclusion: one badass episode. Now, testing parameters aside, one must really contemplate whether or not Scavenger is cut out to be a member of the dark side of Academy City. Given their penchant for running into level 5 Espers, they have some Toma level bad luck. Now, last we left off, we were introduced to the character Kariba Ryoku, or at least the cyborg presuming to be. While trying to locate the initial source of Indian poker, Mizuka, backed by Misaki, have stumbled across the name of Ryoku, whose area of expertise and research were actually in cybernetics. Trying to uncover the connection between Ryoku and Indian poker, Mizuka sets out. Upon arriving at her research facility, the last known location of Ryoku, she is shocked when she sees a recently awoken and enlightened cybernetic Ryoku falling to the ground. It seems this cobbled together leftover cybernetic components has gained sentience and has set out to discover oneself. Luckily, Railgun and Mental Out have discovered the real Ryoku and begin to interrogate her. Meanwhile, it seems that the Ryoku doppelganger has had a price put on her head, which eventually lands at the feet of the underground faction known as Scavenger, still reeling from their utter defeat by the hands of Accelerator. With Mizuka and Misaki still trying to make the connection between Ryoku, Indian poker, and her doppelganger, and Scavenger setting out on a mission to repossess the would-be Terminator, this is where we pick up today's episode. Once again, I have to acknowledge the fact that Scavenger is in a bit of a slump. I mean, they had their asses handed to them at the hands of the OG, the number one, my main man, Accelerator, and not only were they physically devastated, it seems, their confidence has taken a hit. This is basically the last chance for this group. They really want to make a name for themselves, this part of the dark side of Academy City, these underground factions. So they definitely need a win. But of course, that's easier said than done. Now, meanwhile, we still have this ongoing interrogation between Mizuka, Misaki, and the real Ryoku. And we finally get some information in regards to not only her original experiment, but also her connection to Indian poker. First and foremost, the thought of an artificial soul is a dream on both the magic and science side, but this one's a little different. See, the theory behind it is if the artificial soul were to lack some kind of body or vessel, that it could indeed not only inhabit, these other inanimate objects, but in reality could take over all of Academy City. Now, at first, this sounds ludicrous. I mean, a human soul doesn't have this capability, does it? I mean, at least not in our world, I don't think so. But just in regards of it taking over, these other things, it's actually quite proven later on in the episode. But of course, there's some fail safes built in. As long as the body / vessel is intact, it's okay. I mean, there's even a thing where the doppelganger itself, the cybernetic organism, can't hurt itself, so it can actually try to, expand or increase its existence. I mean, it gets kind of weird as you see, but it's literally shown in the episode how this exactly works. Now, in regards to her actual connection to Indian poker, she was utilizing this as a form of information gathering. See, utilizing Indian poker, this technology that would allow one to gain skills when they dream, this was her attempt to actually garner information, technique, or abilities that would help neutralize the doppelganger. See, she has basically no idea how to fucking do it. You can't destroy the body because the soul escape and, could possibly take over the fucking whole Academy City. How would one actually destroy this artificial soul? I mean, she utilized Indian poker to hopefully try and grasp someone's innate knowledge that she herself doesn't have the expertise or experience to know. I mean, it's kind of an interesting fact. She's using just to basically gather information. So now that we know the information, where do we go from here? Well, it turns out Ryoku wants to go this one alone. Faced with literally, one level 5, especially, and then like one hiding behind a tree. He figured, hey, maybe I should ask for help, but no, she wants to go this one alone, so she dips, which was actually a very scary and bad idea, especially when there's a cybernetic powerhouse out there with grand illusions of replacing the original, as well as confirming their own existence, which will probably lead to your death. As we see, the doppelganger Ryoku is basically a computer. She's able to hack a database, find out, this certain rare, medicine, one that helps with, cybernetic replacements, obviously helping with the body's rejection or something. She's able to locate the real Ryoku, and yeah, she has no qualm of explaining her plan. I mean, no matter what path I take, it basically inevitably ends in the original's death, so yeah, whatever. But the real Ryoku isn't without her tricks of her own, using some kind of maybe EMP / grenade or something. She's able to escape, and in one of the most funniest nice, hilarious scenes that's probably not supposed to be funny. All you see is the doppelganger reflecting about maybe where this chick has gone, what just happened, and you see this fucking spinning giant fucking truck behind her. Did anyone else giggle at that? Like, that was actually pretty funny to me. But you know exactly who is responsible. This is Seke. This is the individual, and I make sure to put individual. This is the individual responsible for basically taking an object's friction coefficient or whatever it's called down to 0. And that's where this truck is just spinning like a fat kid ice dancing or some shit. I don't know a good allegory for it. It's just fucking hilarious. But even with the surprise attack and this launch of giant metal debris coming up from a fucking skyscraper, we're still dealing with a fucking pseudo Terminator. I mean, this entity is OP, but using that 0, friction coefficient, she's actually has some hardcore defense, as Seki easily brush off what would probably be a devastating attack from this fucking robo punch. As they meet on like the midway through the skyscraper, she gets a nice fucking foot to the fake face. It's a pretty good scene, and you actually see them perform like nice team combos. Meanwhile, Itsuki is preparing to hit her with a chemical attack, a restraining mixture that's very reminiscent of the Eric Bana Hulk movie. You guys remember that? Where he's in the underground military facility and they decide to shoot that foam, and the Hulk just gets super pissed off and busts out of it. Yeah, this was before Edward Norton and really before Mark Ruffalo, so I mean, that's old school. And by the way, her fucking Esper ability, the name of it is Mixmaster. That so sounds like a 1980s DJ. Like, that's fucking amazing. Like, that's a badass fucking name right there. So with this chemical deterrent impacting the doppelganger's movement, Nara goes in for a paper origami infused like Bushido throw, fucking judo flip, and as of right now, it seems that Scavenger has the upper hand, and they're actually, the leader decides to take this opportunity to monologue, and Jesus Christ, I mean, you figure they would have learned their lesson to not underestimate their fucking opponent like they did with Accelerator, and you saw what happened. Once again, leader decides to dig in like, oh, the little fake person believes she's real. Yeah, when what proceeds is very fucking cringy. With Naru's Esper ability on the fritz, Kariba Cop is able to grab leader's arm and begins to experiment. See, my emotions and pains are just zeros and ones. Why don't you go ahead and show me what real emotion, real pain is to a human, and begins to snap this fucker's arm. Gruesome. But of course, this sets Naru off. She goes full bunny rabbit origami mode, which turns out to be not so good. I mean, she does land a devastating hit, but remember what the real Ryoku said at the very beginning: if the body/vessel gets damaged, and like I said, we'll eventually see it. Yeah, so the creepy smile coming from the doppelganger actually means a lot of stuff. Now at this point, Seki is gone, told to run after the other individual who is an exact duplicate for the one they have currently to make sure they have the correct one. Cutting back to this interaction between Seki and Ryoku, just Ryoku's getting her face smashed into the ground. Just very sadistic character. And much like Seki retorts, out of the nowhere shows the hero. We have Mizuki here standing up for the individual who just told her she was going to go it alone. We do get a great deal of information of why she actually went through this cybernetic research experiment in the first place, which was always kind of confusing. Like, you seem to be a perfectly good individual, or at least what we can assume, and you literally had your body chopped up into fucking pieces. So you know there had to be a fucking backstory. Well, it turns out there is. Due to an accident as her a child, she was basically squashed under a falling rubble of this, this building, and through a lung transplant from her mother, she was able to live. Well, the mother turns out she wasn't doing so well, getting worse for wear, worse and worse. So she turned her attention towards cybernetic implants, and it just wasn't going fast enough. There was a ticking clock placed on the mother. Yes, medicine might slow her inevitable death down to 1 or 2 years, but after that, there's basically no coming back. So it was up to this experiment, like, hey, not only will I be a subject, but I'll also be the observer. Like, let's go ahead and figure out if we can actually do this. Now, we don't get any more information about the mother. Did it work? Was she able to successfully implant lungs or whatever was going on with the mother? I don't know, because we cut back to, the reason that Mizuka set out is Misaki filled her in on what was going on. Like, oh, why didn't you just tell me this in the fucking first place? Like, but with Ryoku saved, it's up to Railgun to take on this member of Scavenger. Now we get a really nice fight scene. It's very quick. I mean, we do get the back and forth between both battlefields. Remember, there's another fight going on, or at least there's about to be. Now at this point, Seki doesn't know who this individual is. Seki assumes that it's a boy. Why do I keep saying Seki and them and they? Well, it turns out, I'm 95% sure you guys already told me this in a comment, and it was not really a spoil, but he puts points it out in today's episode. When he retorts that, don't worry, we have the same package, and then exclaims how shocked he is when he finds out not only is she a girl, but the level, 5 third ranked Esper Railgun. So yeah, Seki's a boy. Why is he dressed up like a chick? I don't know. Maybe it feels good to him. I just watched that ramen anime that was about assassins, and the main character was a dude dressed up like a chick. So, you know what? Whatever floats your boat. I mean, you just gotta do you, I guess. Now, meanwhile, the outcome and the reality of what Ryoku said about the doppelganger and the vessel breaking has come to fruition. No longer being encapsulated by this artificial body, it seems that the soul is able to interact with a myriad of different stuff. The first being Naru's paper Esper ability type stuff, like as it not only is able to control it and stop Naru from attacking, but also begin to sever half of the bunny suit off and then fuse with it. Yeah, so it actually goes to show you that Ryoku's, hypothesis of it being able to interact with other, things is true. No longer, imprisoned by this vessel. And once again, they thought this mission was going to be just piece of cake. Let's go ahead and repossess this robot gone wrong. But no, they underestimated their opponent, and now they're getting their ass handed to them. Of course, meanwhile, Seki has come to the realization that this is Railgun, and they get a nice little flashback into Naru reading horoscopes, and the one about them being an accelerator, their unlucky colors are white and red, aka white hair, white skin, red eyes, because his body, the vectors put out all UV and sunlight and pigment and shit like that, I think. It just goes to show you that how freaking unlucky this group is. Literally, Seki stands no chance. We do get a nice little where once again she's utilizing her zero friction to completely dismantle this skyscraper tall rafters and shit. This debris is falling down, but Mizuka is so fucking powerful, and a majority of this is metal, so it's you're not really gonna do much. And then once she realizes it, she still goes in for an attack, hey, maybe I can at least get one hit on her. Nah, that's not gonna happen. That's really not gonna happen. So with Seki down for the count, it seems we turn our attention back to the other battlefield, and this is how we end out today's episode. Doppel Ryoku is OP. She has absorbed Naru's ability. She goes in for an onslaught. Naru is down for the count. I actually love how her origami, the paper just kind of poofed and it kind of exploded, and all you just see is Naru there, naked Naru, and it means that was all her clothes actually made out of paper. That's actually smart, because I'm assuming she can't actually create paper, she can just manipulate it. So her hiding it as her clothes is actually very smart, but in this instance, it's kind of backfires. Now she's absolutely naked, so meh. Now Itsuki sets a plan in motion to not only use herself right away as a decoy, but also try to get a surprise attack on Ryoku, and it just doesn't work, because not only was she able to fuse with Naru's ability itself, but she can actually utilize it as she creates an origami doppelganger, which takes the brunt of this freezing attack. Now, this was actually got me nervous, this part right here. As Ryoku is going in against Itsuki, you honestly believe, or at least I did, that she was going to crush her head, and it got me worried. Luckily, Naru might be down, but she's not out. She's able to stop and rip off some of this paper, allowing Itsuki, to get out of being held, throw in a nice fucking bomb, but it basically does nothing, as she might have lost some of the paper that she fused with, but now she's just fusing with random rubble now. Like I said, the joke I had at the very beginning, it came to be. It was kind of confusing how you think a soul would interact with other objects, but look at it, it's literally absorbing and fusing with these elements. So it's actually quite scary. This opponent is potentially very powerful, but as luck would have it, we have Railgun on our side, and the ending scene's absolutely hilarious as Scavenger regroups a la minus Seke. A voice comes out of nowhere saying, oh, don't worry, he's down for the count, but I'm here. And the leader's face once again, Railgun, after being so presumptuous, oh, don't worry. I mean, we ran into one level 5 out of 2.3 million people, or was it 23 million people? It was a lot. It was millions of people. So I mean, the probability of running into another level 5 Esper is astronomical. No, you just have really shitty luck. My God, this it's getting good. We really are getting to the climax of this arc. I love it. Like I said, there's a lot of potential in Ryoku being a freaking powerhouse. I was confused at first when they were talking about the artificial soul being able to interact with other stuff, but they actually do a very good way of showcasing that, as not only did it fuse with Naru's per ability, was able to utilize it, but now she's just like fusing with random fucking rocks on the ground or some shit. Like it's actually pretty badass. So how do we destroy this artificial soul? Like, are we going to destroy it? Are we just going to try to reason with it? Like, it's weird. Like, even utilizing Indian poker, which by the way, a nice continuity between all these interesting, techniques, scientific research and aspects and stuff. Even utilizing that though, we weren't able to come up with some kind of suggestion, like some kind of way to defeat this doppelganger. So yeah, I'm excited to find out though. I really am. I really, really am. Anyways, with Scavenger looking worse for wear and Mizuka looking ready to roll, I honestly cannot wait for future episodes.